Hey everybody, let's talk about Multiverse. So, really excited about this. Just diving right into it. This is the idea. I'm here, looking at my scene. Here's a prefab. Let's try this one as well. I can have another one open, etc., etc. So it's that. It allows you to open multiple prefabs, have complete tooling, inspector hierarchy, all that good stuff at the same time as your scene is open. And in the future, it should work with multiple scenes with UI toolkit documents, all sorts of fun things. But let's step back a bit after that quickness and talk about it a bit more in detail. So if you're interested, hopefully, let's keep going. Again, the idea is you're working in your scene, but if you wanted to do something like, let's say, modify one of these, we all know this problem. I can dive into it and it just takes over the scene. Maybe I have to zoom into it, which loses, I had a like a really nicely set up camera angle before or something like that. And to edit this, it's a lot of work if I just want to modify one or two small things or kind of check it out. And I mean, of course, you can use the different context options here, but again, you're losing that whole view and you're losing the context here of the hierarchy. So it always seemed really just kind of silly to me that we couldn't open multiple scenes in prefab. So now we can. And the way I've set this up is any prefab that's in your hierarchy or in your project view. So two ways to do it. When you hover over it, there's this, at the moment, real ugly little pencil icon in the hierarchy. You can click that, or as the tooltip shows, you can use a shortcut. Actually, let's open a different one. I think I had one picked out for this demo that I liked a bit better. Here we go, this one. So that will open up the multiverse view, and you have a couple options for this, just to note early on, because you're going to be having these thoughts. So project settings, I've tried to make quite a few options, and I'll be adding more. Always like options. So whether you want it to be the default, whether it should open new windows, all sorts of fun stuff. As a note, like personally, I like to have the default panel opacity at just about 0. So what that means is, because this was built to really not be in your way, as you're working, everything hides. When you're not, they're kind of there, you can see, and as I hover over them, they appear. So some people like that, some people don't, but also some fancy tooltips. You can turn those on and off. Let me just go ahead and turn them off for this demo, and I'll turn these back up for now, since some people prefer that, right? So now they're a bit more visible. So I'll put this down to the side. We might change some things later. Actually, I'll just pop it right there. Okay, so back to this. So what can I do here? Well, first of all, if I just snap this down here, now I can work on this prefab, or again, the future scene, UI toolkit document, whatever it might be, and I can work fully with it. Everything is here. So if I wanted to select one of the parts here, I can dig into the hierarchy or click directly in the scene view. I think I got a bug with that right now. So I'll select it directly, pick out this guy, change anything here. And then you might notice this is a lot of info trying to be shown in a very small location. So I honestly really intended this to be used as, let's actually open a couple of these just for fun. So if you wanted to have a bunch, let's see, I made a couple of these into prefabs. I'll open up, let's do this one as well, because honestly, having not tested it enough, I don't know if I can open lots of large items. Okay, 2 of these plus the scene. That's already mind-blowing, right? Kind of, at least to me, having dealt with this for so long and always wished it could work. So I'm using these in tiny mode. We'll talk about large mode later. I have some special things to optimize for this. So if you turn on tabbed inspector, I'll do that in each of these. Now it's showing basically a quick, simple tabbed inspector. So you're not seeing that giant scrolling list. It's just exactly what's in each one. It's going to keep it nice and small and out of your way. Also, little things like as you rotate to look at it, as you orbit or pan around, it just hides everything. So the idea is you don't have a lot of space. You just want to do some quick edits here, jump into this one, maybe not as important because it's just one item, but otherwise you just can't get to the brain, the items in the hierarchy, and you definitely can't do things like, let's say I wanted to just move this piece around here. So in this case, I'm going to zoom in, let's see on it a bit, kind of make the most use of this tiny space I have. So I will be setting up proper handle controls now that I've figured out how to do it, but I started out and really like this with very Blender style controls. So whenever you have something selected, just hit a key. So in Blender it's M, I like to use, G. I like to use M for move, and it'll just automatically start using that plane that you're looking at. And you can see it's down here telling you the 2 axes you're using. If I hold shift, it'll snap to a certain axis. If I hold control, it'll snap to grid points. And I can do something like, I want to move it on the X, I hit the X button, and I'll type, I heard something there. I'll type 3. Let's say I wanted to move it 3 units on the X. So I could do that. I don't, so I'm going to hit escape to bring it back. Then back here, all these panels, again, this is kind of why I like to actually just set the panel default down to really, really low. So they're just not really there, but they can be when I hover. So I personally really like that because I like to use it in this smallish way. So there's move tool, there's a rotate tool with lots of exciting debug info that pops up because I'm still working on it, but it works pretty well. Scale tool, and you can use coordinate spaces as well. So do all this stuff. You can edit anything here, and then where it gets really, really interesting, just for the purposes of this demo, let me bring that back up so we can see everything. You'll notice that after I move this thing, it shows I have a change here, and if I do some other items, let's go to the collider and turn on provide contacts for some reason, some other things, it's going to tell me exactly what I've changed, and I can undo those one at a time. If you also have something like, let's say you do a git pull where someone else has changed the same prefab, or you select it in your project view and change it, anything like that, it's going to tell you. We can do it here, actually. No, it'll be difficult because I did this on the bottom. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It has a sort of a change tracking system, like an internal visual source control. So it'll let you know, and you can either revert things or pick what you want to keep or not. So really, really nice to make sure you're not going to mess up your project. I want to bring that into the real scene too, I think. Okay, this is getting long. I'm getting too excited about some of the little details. What was the cool stuff to show? Anyway, this works pretty well. Of course, you can also go in here and pick something else. I want to work on this shovel. I don't want to apply these changes. It's going to check and make sure it's okay. I actually just picked an FBX that shouldn't work, and it didn't work. So it's only meant for prefabs at the moment. Let's pick something else. Here, and I'll go to the mausoleum, and that also, oh, no, it's just over there. Okay, so maybe the shovel did work? Who knows? Okay, cool. Well, there we are. So you can do that. And then, yeah, I guess I never even mentioned, but yes, you can, of course, use it in, oops, sort of a big mode. I hit a key on my keyboard. And if you want, you can do that. And then let's turn off tabbed inspector and make this, much larger if I want to, so I can work on this. It's not really a complicated enough object maybe to look at. But yeah, so you can do that. I've heard some folks would prefer that. If you just want it to be large, it's set up to work in that mode as well, or the smaller mode like this over here. So that's the idea. It changes everything. I really cannot go back to working without this, and I'm just working more and more for it. I've got gizmos rendering and fun things and handles, so it's going to be a full-on scene replacement at some point. Maybe, shouldn't say that, but maybe. And again, lots of this stuff you can modify in the options, and of course also in shortcuts. That's really, really important. So I'm setting all this up. Here we go, using proper shortcut manager, so you can set it up to whatever you like best. I'll make it Unity defaults from the start, but if you prefer certain things, like honestly I haven't changed quite a bit already, you can change that, because this is going to be something you really want to make. So when you're moving from the scene over here over to this, you don't want them to be different shortcuts or something silly like that. So there's that. That's everything. I think most of the things, check it out. I guess you can't yet, but I'll post it up or something soon. But I'd love to know what you think and how you'd use it. So honestly, I was surprised. The first person I showed this to really wanted to use that in the kind of biggie mode, I'll just call it. Maybe I'll have a toggle called biggie mode to work on it. Versus my thought was I should super optimize this for teeny tiny editing, and that's why I have some things like the panel visuals by default being hidden and things like that in the tabbed inspector. But how would you use it? Let me know. I'd love to hear. And let me know if you'd like to try it early. I think I'm just going to post it up free soon because there are so many opportunities for bugs. So far, it's working really well. Quite surprised, but I think that just really is how good the system in the background is. So thanks, Unity. That's good. I remember a long time ago speaking to David Helgeson and him being very happy and surprised that ProWiller was able to do so much. And still the same. Quite extensible and fun. Okay, cool. That's it. Really, I talked about everything. Yeah. Ooh, I gotta fix that. Okay. Good spot to end on a bug. Anyway, cool. Check it out. I'm gonna go do something else at 8 p.m. Okay, later.